Here we go. Good old Anne. Should I do the walk of shame? I see people looking. Anybody not have their quiz here? Y'all got it? Oh, that would be a delight and a joy. Let's find out. A golf ball is thrown horizontally off an 83-meter high cliff. You know, I'm going to do a little dollop right here. So I'm visualizing I have a horizontally 17 meters per second, 83 meters high. I like to do my T-chart approach, and I think, Tanisha, I have room over on the right here to do my little list my data, where horizontally, no acceleration, vertically, negative 9.8, horizontally, the horizontal velocity is 17. Key idea when you're launched horizontally, what's the vertical velocity the split second you leave the cliff? Zero. You got a copy of the quiz? Oh, thank you. That's not enough. I need something else. Well, I haven't used that 83. I need to figure out, is it a horizontal displacement or a vertical displacement? Well, looking at my diagram, AJ, it's clearly vertical. But what am I going to have to remember? Am I going to say that it's positive 83? Negative. And again, you'll catch if you forget. The nice thing is, if you forget to make it negative, you should catch it, because when you try and do the math, you'll get an error on your calculator because you're trying to take the square root of a negative, and you can't take the square root of a negative. So I'm going to use D equals VIT plus a half AY T squared. Oh, but that's zero. In fact, I think I'm going to get this. Time equals the square root of 2D over A. Yeah? It's going to be the square root of, excuse me, 2 negative 83 all over negative 9.8. Square root 4 point something. 4.1? Yeah? So that gets you 2 marks. If I'm giving you part marks, I would certainly say if I saw that, that would get you 1 mark. If I saw the numbers, that would get you a half mark, and a half mark for the answer. By the way, if you forgot the units, take a half mark off. How far from the base? Okay, now they're asking me to find a horizontal displacement, and I seem to recall that horizontal displacement is that. What happened to the half AT squared? Oh, A is 0 horizontally. Oh, by the way, the only other question, or did I do it in this question? Let me see. No. Also on your test, there's going to be one question where instead of giving you the height, vertical, I give you the range, horizontal, which actually makes it way easier, because now you're using this equation to find time. How would you get the t by itself? Divide by v, no square roots, no, and then you walk over here and you use this equation to find dy, the height. And you need a distance. Oh, there's going to be one question on your test where I give you the time and say, find both distances. Well, if you have the time, then the question falls apart. Most of the effort we spend on projectiles is finding the time. Oh, also, somebody asked me the other day, you see how we're going components? You can just as easily add a z direction, and now you have 3-dimensional. So you have horizontal, you have vertical, and you have coming towards me, you're going away from me. Add a z column. The acceleration and things get a bit trickier, but the procedure is not much different. It's going to be the same equations in 3 dimensions. Okay, nerd tangent over. 17.
We solved it.
Good. Times 4.1. 69.7. Is that right? Or is it 69.7? Meters. Again. 1, a half. Again, if you got the right answer, you get 2 out of 2. C, what's the vertical velocity? Okay, now we're not talking about at the bottom, so I'm going to defig. Vertical, I know Vy initial was 0. They want me to find Vy final, not final when it hits the ground, Sean, but final after 1.8 seconds. Oh, and they told me t equals 1.8 seconds, and I know Ay is negative 9.8. Do you see why when I said if they give you time, the question falls apart? This is like fairly plug and chuggish. I think I'm going to use, Tanisha, V final equals V initial plus AT. V final is going to be 0 plus negative 9.8 times 1.8. Do you get negative 17.6? What's the negative telling me? It's going down. What if I'd gotten a positive answer? Now, I couldn't here because you're being launched horizontally. You're always going to be falling downwards. But later on, when we shoot up at angles, it is possible to get a positive answer. Oh, that tells you it's on the way up. You get a negative answer. Oh, that tells you it's already reached the top and it's on its way down. Makes sense. How far is the ball traveled horizontally after 1.8 seconds? dx equals vxt. Vx is still 17, but this time the time is 1.8. .6 meters. 1 mark for the equation, half mark for the numbers, half mark for the answer. AJ. Well played. Turn the page. Question 2, a tennis ball is, okay, here we got an angle. I think I'm going to do my T-table over here on the right. I got some room there, but I really tear up for an angle. That's where I really do like to dulp. So I'm going to dulp up here. There's my velocity. And you'll notice I try and draw it fairly big. You want to make this tougher, Sam? Draw your velocity like this and try drawing your components like that. And like you can't label it properly. You're going to get confused. You have the space anyways. William, draw them big. It just makes it easier. And the angle is 38 degrees, and we're going to have Vx, and we're going to have Vy initial. I know I've asked this before, but I'll ask it again. Jordan, how come I put initial on the Vy, but I didn't put an initial on the Vx? How come I put initial on the Vy, folks, but I didn't put an initial on the Vx? Okay, Vx is constant, right? Trying really hard. Again, Jordan, most common mistake, horizontally, kids want to put that 9.8 in. No! Horizontally, I showed you that lovely video of that little cart that was sliding along the track, and you saw the golf ball stayed right above the cart the whole time and landed right back in the cart the whole time. What's the initial vertical velocity? Oh, I forgot to put the actual velocity on my diagram. How about putting the 22 right there? Sheesh, that scared me for a second. Is it 22 cos? 38, right? 17.3. Vertical, Mr. Dueck. Vertical. Mr. Dueck. Vertical. Good gosh. Vy. What's Vy? Which trig function is Vy usually? Sine. Really? Oh, I wish there was a dumb, easy way to remember that. That would be convenient. But boy, I suck as a teacher. I got nothing. $13.54. I'll go 13.5. 1 mark if you used Vy. If I see the 22 sine 38, 1 mark for the answer. Initial horizontal, Vx is, well, the opposite of sine, cos. See how useful trig is? What a wonderfully applied branch of mathematics. None of this, let's factor a polynomial for no good reason. Over here, let's do my chart, because C is saying time. I don't know. I need to figure out how I'm going to approach this. Let's see. I know that AX is 0, AY is negative 9.8, VX is 17.3, VY initial is 13.5, 13.5. I only have two pieces of information. How long is a tennis ball in the air? I have to know something else, and the question didn't tell me. What else do I know? Okay, I could say at the top it's 0, and then what would I do with that time? Double it, sure. What? I do know Vy final. If I want to do it in one fell swoop, because I can use what goes up must come down. Yeah, I can say, you know what? Vy final is negative 13.5. And now I can use, is that a handout? No, you're just doing the physics. What the? Pause the video for a second. So I think I can go. I think I can go. Time equals Vf minus Vy all over A. You know what? If I want to be really, really accurate without rounding it off at all, instead of using the 13.5, I could even go negative 22 sine 38 minus 22 sine 38, all divided by negative 9.8. That would be dead accurate, no rounding off. And don't be scared to try doing that once in a while, especially if you've got a good calculator. In fact, I think for me to type 13.5 is 1, 2, 3, 4 keystrokes. For me to type this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 keystrokes. It doesn't take me much longer. In Terra, it's way more accurate. I'm going to do that because I'm a nerd. Bracket, because there's more than one number on the top, negative 22 sine 38 minus 22 sine 38 divided by negative 9.8. Whether you use the 13.5 or the 13.5445 or whatever, do you get the 2.76? Is that right?
Yes.
Yes? 2.8? I'll go 2.8 seconds, 2.76. D, how far down the field does the tennis ball land? Now they want the range. dx equals vxt, which is going to be 17.3 times 2.8. Or, if I really want to be accurate, I can go 22 cos 38 times my last answer. And there, that is still rounding off. I think my calculator, most of your calculators, carry 50 decimal places. So we are technically rounding off to the 50th decimal place, but Tanisha will assume that's accurate enough. 47.9, is that what you get? You might get 48. Is that right? No? Yeah? I'll go 48 meters. What's the maximum height? Here, Andrew, I think I would use what you were talking about. Here, I would think I would say, I know at the top, vertically it's traveling 0. Does that mean it's come to a stop? No, Hakeem, it's still moving sideways, but I'm really trying to tell you the vertical velocity has no influence whatsoever over the horizontal velocity, which has no influence whatsoever over the vertical velocity. They really do lead completely separate lives of their own, which is nice. It lets me do straight line math, William, instead of yucky vector math. Vy initial was 13.5. A equals negative 9.8. I think I'm going to use D equals Vf squared minus Vi squared all over 2A. 0 squared minus 13.5 squared all over 2 times negative 9.8. 22 sine 38, 13.5. Bracket 0 squared minus 13.545 squared. That should be accurate enough. Divided by bracket 2 times negative 9.8. Do you get 9.36, 9.4 seconds? Yeah? Maybe 9.3 if you use the 13.5, but... Meters? Yeah, thank you. Meters, because it's a range. Height, it's a height. Okay. And again, 1 mark for the formula, half mark for the numbers, half mark for the answer. Can you give yourself a score? This quiz is is it out of 18? My math is correct. Give yourself a score out of 18, please. And pass them inwards once you have done so.